Welcome to Brainstorm MTG. I'm ELD, and this is Fast Effect Double Speed Magic the Gathering. We have here Cephalid Breakfast versus not actually Goblins. John has moved to Rug Delver. John, a very accomplished Goblins player, now feels that Rug is a very reasonable place to be in the meta. A lot of counters, a solid clock, and also has that mana denial element that makes Goblins such a contender in its own right, but I think the Rug list probably leverages that a bit better due to Stifle. So really what you're looking to do with Rug Delver is get a single threat down, possibly Delver of Secrets. That's kind of your best case starting point. You also have Nimble Mongoose, which is a little slower to grow into a significant clock. And really ride that threat to victory, attacking your opponent's mana base and the stack. So you've got cards like Force of Will and Daze to make sure nothing too out of hand resolves. You do have Burn, which can finish off an opponent, or you can kind of groom the board and keep any significant threats from causing problems with cards like Lightning Bolt. A lot of ways that Rug can be built. People are definitely trying out different creature suites, Hooting Mandrills, Tarmogoyf, a lot of different creatures are possible, and it's all getting sorted out in this still relatively new meta. John leading out Flooded Strand into Ponder, Tropical Island enabling that. On my side of the board, that Aether Vial resolving, that means that the combo is going to be impossible to disrupt from the stack. He could potentially Stifle to slow it down, I suppose, but that is very much a huge tempo play. Sacrificing a card for just delaying a single turn could become relevant, but more likely than not, he's going to have to try and control this combo with some burn, and really at the instant speed of Aether Vial, it may mean Lightning Bolt is the most important card in his deck moving forward. Lim-D's Vault in hand here. Couple of fetch lands. Nimble Mongoose coming down for John. And there's a Stoneforge Mystic. And we'll see versus Rug game 1. Is it Batterskull or Shuko? Gonna go ahead and get Shuko. That'll enable any future Cephalid Illusionist to potentially go infinite. And not just casting Shuko here. Oh, and it looks like Batterskull's already in hand. I would offhand imagine that. Oh, and an error there from John. He actually did not have Threshold, so he throws away the Nimble Mongoose. That is a significant error there. Now it's a question of going for the combo versus getting out a Batterskull. What's the better line here? And a Goyf comes down. Go ahead and fetch in response. Looks like a Force of Will might be a consideration here. And Lim-D's Vault being thrown out there. So this is most likely in response to Goyf. Cephalid Illusionist coming down. Being found there, I should say, in that Lim-D's Vault. And this could be it here. Question of activating Stoneforge or just casting the Shuko. There we go, John. Trip down memory lane, taking a look at Cephalid Illusionist. There's the Shuko. Does he have some removal? And he actually says okay. Oh, no, he doesn't. He's targeting with Lightning Bolt. That's what those 3 cards getting milled were. So it has targeted by Bolt. Here comes a Daze. Dazing back, paying the 1. Another Daze. It looks like an extra mill might have happened there. Or perhaps he responded to the Shuko. Okay, so we got the Lightning Bolt and the Shuko. And this is now looking fairly grim. So John having the double counter there. could have been avoided by not activating Stoneforge to get in Shuko. So kind of playing around one counter to walk right into the other one, and just drew Cephalid off the top like a savage. And here comes Batterskull with the Shuko. That's a 4/5 Goyf. Gave it a good, honest effort to try and win with the combo. But it looks like it might be time to just try and get there with a germ token. John just 3 cards in hand here. Gonna go ahead and send with the Batterskull. Not gonna sacrifice Goyf at this time. And there's the ability to pick up and put down Batterskull with that 3 mana. Delver comes down. Batterskull giving a tremendous amount of inevitability here. Getting out of range. Of burn and really making those Delver attacks insignificant. Daze is revealed. And Delver of Secret's really one of the only cards that are going to provide Cephalid Breakfast with information for therapy to be a not guess. Grand Abolisher during the end step. Still holding Force and blue card. And does Batterskull get picked up during the end step here? And it did not. Interesting. Gonna go ahead and send for 4. And brainstorming here. Finding the Cephalid Illusionist the 3rd time's the charm. And it looks like that's going to do it. John scooping it up. So Cephalid Breakfast looked like it was going to have to get there with Batterskull. But another Cephalid Illusionist showing up just to take the win away from Batterskull. No way he was going to let that happen. The incentives are in the contract. He is going to just pad his numbers, get as many touchdowns as he can. You're running Cephalid Breakfast. If he is on the team, he wants the ball every chance he can get. And that is got to be tough there for John, having handled already handled 2 Cephalids. To find the 3rd one there, not as bad to lose to the germ token. But losing to Cephalid Breakfast with the milling there is got to feel a little tough when you're playing what is considered to be the best deck in the format. This deck is interesting in its positioning versus so many decks in the format. I will say it does have some terrible matchups, which would prevent it from really being a super popular choice. You're going to have a really tough time versus decks that have a massive amount of burn, so perhaps not Rug Delver, but you know, a deck like, say, actually straight burn, for example, that could be a huge problem. Blue-Red Delver also could be really a bit of a nightmare. Just the ability to handle so many onboard threats. It's very different than a control deck having a handful of Swords to Plowshares or Fatal Pushes. We're talking almost every card in the deck can actually break up the combo. That tends to be an issue. May have, there he's back, all right. One of the interesting things about Cephalid Breakfast is it is a graveyard-based strategy, but it does not have to use the graveyard as much as, say, a Reanimator deck. We do have the Stoneforge Mystic package, as we saw in that first game, and it also can be built to sidestep the graveyard in some ways if you use the Labman build. Now this week we're on Mimeoplasm plus Murderous Redcap and Lord of Extinction, and those cards may play a role here. We'll see if the low casting cost, relatively low, of 5 mana, ends up being a usable effect or if it'll only be part of the combo. So far we have seen things like Lord of Extinction coming down off of either Vial or being cast, or even Dread Returned as a solo target. And he is quite large. Certainly would be outside of burn range from Rug Delver here. During the break here, I'd like to give a little shout out to Scholars, really a home for Eternal formats for many, many years. Actually the home of my first Vintage tournament, probably, I mean, coming up on 20 years ago. And really a great home for Legacy. Excellent weekly attendance. 4 rounds every Wednesday night. Always great to see some old faces returning to the fold. This past week, Sam, a client that I had from many, many years ago, just getting back into the game, showed up, was picking up some cards to be able to play with his coworkers. He stuck around, borrowed one of my Legacy decks. He actually ran lands to pretty reasonable effect. Managed to get some match wins with that, which was a good return for him. And really just see how much the game has changed over the last 10 years. He had a blast. So I encourage anybody to come on down to Scholars on Wednesday nights and try out the format. And going deep into mulligan territory here. Cephalid Breakfast, really not the best deck to be mulliganing deep with. You'd almost rather have a bunch of questionable cards with a Brainstorms. That would be a much more comfortable thing because there are a lot of non-functioning cards in the deck. And certainly cards that don't do anything on their own. You need the critical mass of a Cephalid Illusionist plus a way of targeting it for the most part. Of course, Stoneforge in this matchup might be good enough, so we'll see. Aether Vial here off of a Tundra, and it looks like the combo's in hand, so a Mull to 5, and fortunate enough to find both a Nomad en-Kor and a Cephalid Illusionist. So this is actually very dangerous territory here for John. Playing a Delver and a Nimble Mongoose. And if a land was found there, it actually would have been game over. Would have been able to Vial in and just cast the Illusionist. Cabal Therapy. Gonna give us some lay of the land here. Lightning Bolts taken from hand, Ancient Grudge, and Force of Will. This is a super dangerous situation. Delver not flipping. Ancient Grudge on Vial. That's going to put in the Nomad en-Kor. If that's not a blue card, it's going to be over. Coming in. Just a green mana open. Cephalid Illusionist, and that's going to do it. So Cephalid Breakfast taking down one of the best decks in the format in Rug Delver. That's all for this one. If you enjoyed the video, please help grow the channel by subscribing. You'll be notified when we upload new videos like Fast Effect, Double Speed Magic with commentary, or Untapped, our raw tournament gameplay. Thanks for watching.